Welcome back to the channel. Today we'll look at how to correct mistakes while you're recording using the punch-in feature on the BR1600. There are two methods commonly used when recording an audio track. The first is to do multiple full-length takes and then build a final track from the best parts. This is known as comping or compiling. And although this is a perfectly valid way to record, when you're doing vocals especially, this can wear out your voice if you don't get the performance you want in those first few takes. The second method is to correct just the parts that have the mistake, either while you're recording or afterwards. This is known as overdubbing or punching in, and that's what we'll be looking at today. Once the initial take is recorded, you rewind the track and listen in playback mode. When you reach a point just before the section to be overdubbed, you go into record mode. This is the punch-in point. You record over the original take and then drop out of recording into playback mode. This is the punch-out point. There are three ways to do this on the BR1600. The first is the manual method. This is simply pushing the record button while the track is playing. To demonstrate, I'll record a sequence of ascending notes onto track 1. Now we'll punch in and re-record some of the notes in the sequence. Place the fader on the record track at unity. This is the point at which there is no gain applied to the track and playback is at the same level as the input that was recorded. Make sure that the volume of the input source matches the recorded track. If you've just recorded the track and haven't moved anything, then you're good to go. But if the input volume or instrument volume has changed, you will need to match it so that you don't get a change in volume when you do the punch-in. Rewind the song to a point before the section to be re-recorded and arm a track for recording. It's a good idea to start singing or playing prior to the punch-in so that you can get as seamless an edit as possible. Press play and listen or play along with the track. When it reaches the point to punch in, press the record button to start recording over the previous track. Press either the record or play button to punch out and revert back to playback. Rewind to a section before the punch-in and press play to listen back to the edit. If you want to redo the take, use the undo button to discard the previous attempt and redo the punch-in. If you find it distracting to hear the previous take, you can mute the tracks to be overdubbed. I'll undo the last take and demonstrate the same edit with the track muted. Hold the mute button and the track button to mute it. After the edit is done, when you punch out, the track will revert to playback, and at that point the mute is automatically cancelled and the original track can be heard again. Using this method, you can record multiple overdubs in one go without stopping by simply pressing the record button to either drop in or out of record mode. The disadvantage of this method is having to use your hands to press the button, and is obviously not very convenient if you're playing an instrument. That brings us to the second option, which is using a foot switch like the Roland DP2 or FS5U. You set this up from the utility menu under System and Foot Switch and set it to punch in out. The steps are exactly the same as for the manual method, except that you use the foot switch instead of the record button. Each time the foot switch is pressed, it drops the BR1600 either in or out of record mode. The final method is to automate the process using the auto punch-in feature. This is done using the dedicated buttons located above the transport section. Set the punch-in and punch-out points by pressing the in and out button at the location where you want recording to start and stop. This can be done in either stop or play mode. The buttons will light up to indicate that the points have been registered. If you need to reposition either of the points, hold the delete key and press the corresponding button at the same time. The light will go out and you can reset the point. The punch points must be at least a half a second apart or they cannot be registered. Once they've been set, you can jump directly to either by pressing the respective button. Press the on button to enable auto punch. With both points set, any track that is armed will now only record between these two locations. Rewind to a point before the punch in and press record and then play. The BR1600 will remain in play mode until it reaches the punch in point, where it will switch over to record. Once it passes the punch out point, it then reverts back to playback automatically. Press the in button and use rewind to step back a few seconds. The auto punch function can also be used in combination with the repeat button. This allows you to loop a section of audio while you do the punch in and be able to hear the result and record it without stopping. Set the punch in points for the section you want to re-record. And enable auto punch if it's unlit. Now we can set up a loop to enclose the punch-in section. Usually you would want to add a bar or two either side of the edit so that you have some time to prepare for playing. Press the in button to jump to the punch-in point. Use the cursor to underline the bar position and use the time value wheel to rewind a couple of bars. Press the repeat button and it will start to flash. Press the out button to jump to the punch out point and use the time value wheel to move forward 2 bars. Press the repeat button and it now remains lit, indicating that the loop has been set. Pressing play at any point before the second repeat location will loop the track continuously until you either press stop or disable the loop. With repeat play in progress, press the record button or the foot switch at any point before the punch-in point and the BR1600 will switch to record mode when it reaches the punch-in and then back to playback at the punch out. On the repeat loop following the punch, confirm that the edit is satisfactory, and if necessary, press record again on the next loop and redo it. Press stop when you're happy with the result. Hold down the delete key with the in and out buttons to clear them. Press the repeat button to disable it. And that covers the basics of punching in on the BR1600. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you for the next video.